Hello and welcome. So how do you handle the McLaren MP4-X? People have been asking for tips. Well, I'm going to walk you through how I dial in Hockenheimring National and also Brands Hatch. But first, let's look at some examples at Mount Panorama, the very first corner. First tip, let's go to that steering sensitivity. I usually run it on 2, so I drop it to 0. If you ran 7, I'd say drop to 4, like drop it by 3. If you run 5, drop to 2. So you want to drop that by at least 2 or 3 for whatever you usually do, because this car is difficult. In this video, I'm going to have the assists off, at least for this part. Later on, we're going to talk more about assists. I'll show you some examples. Mount Panorama Endurance Race, look at this. Oh my goodness, that is incredibly difficult and represents a lot of trial and error. I just watched this in super slow motion. I am that close to being off track without actually going off track because my distance would have turned red. Let's look at some failures. Here I started turning too late, so I go flying off track. Here I started turning too early, and then I tried to make it up. That doesn't work. Similar thing there, that was close. Then I'm turning earlier, peg a car, and here I just miss it. And this one, I actually nail it. Different time. Only successful 1 out of 20 times. So there's another strategy to use for these extremely difficult 1 out of every 20 corners. And I just did it. Now we're going to back up, watch the gas pedal, I'll stop talking. That quick lift will give you a little more control without giving up too much time. In a time trial, you probably still want to push it. Speaking of time trials, let's head to Hockenheimring National, and I'm going to show you something you usually don't see in videos, and that is a bunch of failures. Now, I failed at these corners way more than you're seeing. I'm just showing you though, I basically failed at every single corner. This one really bothered me. I'm nicely ahead of my Ghost, which was already awesome, and then I blow it. After 25 minutes of tweaking my braking points, I nailed the 79th time in the world, which is pretty good. So you don't relearn a track for every single car, you learn it and then you tweak it. So that first corner, full throttle in this car, not all cars. Here, of course, I'm going to be on the brakes a bit, but it's trajectory. The number one thing with this car, and I'd say most cars, trajectory. If you've got the right braking point and the wrong trajectory, forget about it. You're going to go off track. And what is trajectory? That's just where your car is on the track, like where you're angled. So your path through the corner. Like this, full throttle is very hard. Very few cars can do this full throttle. This car actually had a little bit to spare. But if you look back at my trajectory, I almost went off track right before entering that corner. By the way, this here, that's not off track. You can do that if you want to. Now let's go corner by corner. I'll show you a mistake and then the right way. So here, I start slight turn too early, and then I can't make it up. So obviously I go off track because I wasn't turning at the right trajectory. Here, I start turning later, nice steady motion, and I've got room to spare. Next corner, we're going to do 2 freeze frames. This is when I'm just getting on the brakes, and then we're going to also freeze frame at my lowest speed in the corner. I'm on the gas way too early, that's why I go flying off. Now check this out. Look at how far back I am on the brakes. I got on the brakes earlier, same speed. And check out where I got back to the gas. Here I waited till the apex and a little bit slower. Now watch the results though. That's me pulling away from my prior time, which was still a top 100 time. 2 examples for the next corner. Here I started slightly turning too early, and then I can't get the right trajectory here, can't slow down enough. Next one, I start turning too late and too tight, so I can't set up to drive out. So I would have had to get on the gas later to pull that off. Now here is the proper entrance, very close to the left wall. And then I'm just taking it nicely, not too tight in the first corner in here, and then power out nicely at the exit. Taking it still a little bit to that left side, that's just nice. This next one is interesting, and we're gonna have to really slow it down. Watch my rear end hop the corners here. Okay, the problem is I was steering right at that moment, so my car totally lost it. So let's go through this again, and watch what I do. I don't start steering until I'm past those bumps. Now this little chicane here is easy to take full throttle on this car, like no problem at all. Let's go back to regular speed for just a bit. This is a very tricky corner, takes some guts. So here is where I get it wrong. I just was turning too late. Now watch this, we're gonna freeze frame it and compare. Look at the very slight difference in trajectory, and I started my turn 1 car length earlier and a little more aggressive. And look, I actually had track to spare. That's shocking. And then we arrive at my most dreaded corner of Hockenheimring. I've got the wrong entrance. I shouldn't be on the gas. I blow it. 8.5 minutes later, I'm finally able to reattempt that corner. Here we are again. Very nice lead, and I went in too fast. You can't do that. So here, I'm braking nicely. I've got a better trajectory. And see, watch my Ghost. I drove it in too deep that time. So here I am passing my Ghost, even though he passed me on the entrance of that corner. Then I never made a mistake here. Very slight braking point. I like to utilize that section of the track. Maybe it's quicker not to, but it works for me. Now, what about assists? So let's throw the assists on high, traction control on, and then you got to make sure you keep all your tires on the track at the entrance of the corner, or it's going to brake even earlier. It was just braking at corner one. That's ridiculous. I've got the gas pedal pinned the whole time here. Here again, substantial over braking. I'm actually surprised that it didn't brake here, so that's great because that would have been really stupid. I'm trying to help the game out a bit here, but again, we've got substantial over braking at this corner, and I do not like steering assist high. It makes me feel weird when I'm turning. And watch this. This is ridiculous. It was braking there. That's ludicrous. Now this corner I understand. This corner is difficult. I mean, with way over braking. And steering assist high, I used to use it all the time. My first 18 months playing this game. Now it throws me off on so many corners. So look at that. I mean, this is horrible. Oh, fabulous. Let's brake at the last corner. Oh, okay. Well, so over 10 seconds back. Okay, let's try something different. Let's put it on low. I'll leave the traction control on. It's steering low, brakes low, and let's see what it does at the first corner. It threw on the brakes. Boy, that's ridiculous. Not as bad though. Now here's the other tricking thing. With brake assist low, the car will brake late. And watch this. Watch me try to drive straight. I can't. That's strange. It's just with this steering assist low, and I can't get it to stay straight. I can't drop my steering sensitivity any further. Here, well, it was okay. And then watch this. It got on the brakes a little bit. Not as much, but it did. And this corner, it does fine. Watch very closely here. I actually lost it here several times with this exact setup. It drives it in too deep, so I have to follow it. It was over braking. And even here, still braking at the last corner. So not as bad. But I'm still 5 seconds back. That's really bad. You definitely won't get a top 100 time with your assists on. Now, let's go to Brands Hatch. In this monster, there's only 2 braking points. In corner 1, no brakes, baby. Takes a lot of guts. Then you're really heavy on the brakes for this big hairpin. Next corner is possible full throttle. I can't do it yet. Micro lift. Then this, we don't brake at these 2 corners at all. This corner, big sweeping parabolic shaped corner, not parabolica, parabolic shape. That is a very difficult corner. Let's go through some of my mistakes. So it's really hard to dial this in, and watch this. How isn't that off track? Okay, well that time it was. And look at this. Oh boy, we're getting airborne here. Like, it's not easy to do some of this. Then I finally get this corner right, and then I'm not on the brakes soon enough. Or maybe back to the gas too early. And even here, blowing it. Then this corner, and oh, you finally get here. You're having a great run. Anyway, I couldn't crack the top 200, but still pretty good. For my last set of tips, we go to Le Mans, where this car is king of all endurance races, most amount of fame per minute. On 100% bonus fame day with the agent hired, we're talking 7,600 fame per minute. Okay, let's go to the first chicane, and watch how I take this. I'm on the brakes, getting heavy steering done, then back to the throttle, back it up. Here's my braking point. Again, I'm on the brakes for a bit, heavy steering. Just as I'm pulling out of that, I'm back to the throttle. In fact, I feathered it just a pinch there. Now let's go to the next chicane. You're gonna see the exact same thing. And again, heavy braking, heavy steering, under braking, then back to the power. Same braking point as the last chicane, 100, and you can see, same thing. I'm on the brakes for a bit. Here I'm getting back to the gas after I'm done my heavy steering. So you can't just hit the brakes and steer hard. You're gonna go flying. You gotta get on those brakes for a little bit when you're going really fast, and then start your steering. Now I've got a whole playlist just for this one car that shows you how to do endless endurance racing at this track, as well as Catalunya, Silverstone, Melbourne, and more. Biggest thing to remember with this car is don't be afraid to make mistakes. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. See you on the track.